What's up, y'all? So I know that this is not really a video that I originally said that was gonna be going on here, but fuck it, we're all stuck inside. It's time to rant, and because Katsu's crimes will not be forgotten. So essentially, if you can tell from the title of the video, I'm pretty much gonna be talking about my experience with Katsu's Masquerade this year, and how fucking awful it was. So buckle on up, get your snacks, because it's gonna be a fucking wild ride. I'm gonna try not to forget anything. I do have a list of what I want to go over, but I just woke up and I'm probably gonna forget something. So the first thing we're gonna go over is the application process. Essentially, the application was maybe 5 questions long. That might not even be right. Essentially, they asked for your name, your character and where they're from, say a little bit about something like that or whatever, and that was pretty much it. You couldn't say that if you're a walk-on, if you're a performance, or anything like that. And then not only that, but when it came to their application process, they posted it 2 hours late, and then tried to brush it off as if they just posted it like 5 minutes late, and made, posted very unprofessionally on their Twitter about people getting upset that it was posted late, when in reality they should have taken the professional route and apologize for it being late, and just moving on. Instead, they decided that they wanted to make a joke about it, as if people, that wanted to sign up possibly lost a chance to, because it seemed like they put the application process together in 2 minutes before they posted it, because they were like, oh, forgot to post it, and it was awful. Not to mention that on their website, they never updated it from last year of when the application was supposed to go up, so everyone thought it was supposed to be this date, but in reality it wasn't until this date, and they never updated, never decided to post about it, nothing. Essentially keeping everyone in the dark. And when it came to getting accepted, people probably knew maybe a week or so before the con that they were accepted into the Masquerade, which, one, again, fucks with people's plans if they have to change their plan for prejudging, or if they were declined, a week before the con after getting everything prepared, and everything like that. So that was fucking ridiculous. And then prejudging and rehearsal times. So let me tell you a good example of a prejudging and rehearsal time is Anime NYC. They have their rehearsals in the morning, about I think it was 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I think it's 9 to 10 or 8 to 10, I forget exactly, but it's one of those. They have their rehearsals, and then they have prejudging right after, where you can sign up for what time that you'd like. So this year for Anime NYC, we had a rehearsal. I had time to go change because I scheduled my prejudging to be at 11, which gave me a whole hour to change. And then I went to prejudging. And then here's Katsu's example of what they thought was a good idea. They decided to schedule both prejudging and rehearsal at the same time. I had my friends in Restart Idol Project where they had their prejudging at one time. They were in prejudging, and then in the other room, because prejudging was in the green room, in the actual Masquerade room, they were calling them to rehearse. But obviously they didn't know because they were at prejudging. And that's not the only person that happens to. That happened to a bunch of other people where they were at prejudging and they missed a rehearsal and couldn't rehearse because of the fact that both were scheduled at the same time. Not to mention that staff was not very helpful when it came to figuring things out, and fun stuff like that. So yeah, it was a fucking disaster. And then here came my personal little fun, situation that I had. So, when it came to checking in, I went, when I got accepted, I had to make them change my time because I had a photo shoot till 11, and they were trying to schedule me for 11, and I was absolutely not. And luckily, they were nice enough to change the time for my prejudging. And then I went to go check in, and there was 2 pieces of paper. There was ones for who was going to be on stage and performances and stuff like that, and then there was prejudging. I was on the prejudging one, so I was okay, whatever. So I thought it was weird I was only on one. So and then my prejudging wasn't for a little while, so I had a little while, so I was just in the masquerade room just like, you know, trying to check this stuff out, and then someone told me I had to go check in with someone to see what my number was. So I went to that person and I was like, hey, I was like, I just wanted to know what my number is. I was like, I'm a walk-on and stuff like that. So I asked for my name, I gave him my name. I wasn't on his list. So I was like, that's a little weird. And like he was just like, oh, I can't really do anything right now. He's like, but if you go to where you check in and you talk to them over there, they will be able to you know, look at it and see what's going on and stuff, and like my boss should be over there. So I was like, okay. I was like, at this point I'm getting a little like worried. So I was like, okay. So then I went back to the check-in area and I was like, I pretty much explained to him, I was like, hey, I was like, I'm a walk-on. I was like, the guy in there checked, he said I wasn't on the list, I don't have a number. I was like, I just want to know what's going on, you know, and stuff like that. And whoever was there was pretty much essentially checked, saw that I was on the prejudging thing, but didn't see that I was on the list to go on stage, which again, want to preference this, I was accepted to be a walk-on to go on stage. So the fact that they were trying to say that, you know, I wasn't on the list was very weird. But he checked and he was pretty much like, oh, walk-ons are full. And I was like, okay. And he was like, put your name and your number down. If we have someone drop, like, we'll give you a call so that you can fill in their spot and stuff. And I was like, that doesn't make sense because I was accepted, you know, and stuff like that. So I went back inside and I pretty much explained to the guy, I was like, he's trying to tell me that walk-ons are full. I was accepted. Like, I don't know what's going on. And the guy pretty much told me he couldn't do anything. He was just like, if that's what my boss says, I can't do anything. And I was just, at that point, I was very pissed off because, you know, obviously I was preparing to be on stage, you know, and everything like that. And so, like, I pretty much walked away. I was like, fuck it, whatever. I'll go to prejudging and I'll deal with it after. Someone decided to join us. So I was like, alright, fuck it, I'll go to prejudging. But then, as I was sitting at prejudging, which, mind you, prejudging was also fucking awful. I mean, the judges were super fucking nice. The judges were really nice. I'll talk about that. That's the one good thing that happened out of the masquerade. But they were late. Obviously, I don't really blame the judges for that. I don't really blame the people that were trying to take care of prejudging because, again, of the whole mess that was doing rehearsals and prejudging at the same time, so it was really messing up the whole schedule. So I was supposed to be seen, I think at 12:30, I believe, and I didn't see the judges till maybe like 1:30, 2 o'clock. As I was sitting there waiting, I decided that I was gonna pull up the email that said that I was accepted so that afterwards we can go back and talk. Luckily I had my good friend Cox there who was very much ready to go in Karen mode with me, you know, and everything like that. But yeah, so and then it came to actually getting judged, which again, this was the only good part because I really liked the judges. The judges were super nice. One of them was even joking around with me because she found out I had a circuit, so she was jealous, you know, and everything like that. But like, they were super nice. They were looking at every detail. They were asking me about everything. They were looking at everything, you know, so that part I really enjoyed. It was the fact that the judges were actually very, you know, into looking at what you made and everything like that. So then after prejudging, that's when we went back to the table, and I was like, here's the situation. I was told that walk-ins were full. I was like, but I have the email saying that I was accepted. So I don't know why, you know, you guys are trying to say I cannot walk when I was accepted. So the guy like looked at it and he kind of realized like, oh fuck, like, well, we gotta do something now. So they were able to squeeze me into one spot that they had, which means that everyone else that they were telling that it was full, they were lying to them, and they lied to me saying it was full because they had spots they could fill, and everything like that. But then I was like, oh, thank God. And he was just like, oh, he's like, okay, so now just go inside and talk to the guy about lighting and music and stuff like that. So I was like, alright. I was like, kind of weird because, no, actually, he told me to go inside to talk about my introduction, which, in the application process, obviously they did not give walk-ons much to really go about, so we did not know that we needed introductions. If I knew I needed an introduction, I would have included one, but I did not know because they were not communicating with us and they did not give us enough information. So I went inside to the guy to do my introduction, and I pretty much just like, I don't really have anything. Like, he asked for my character from the show. It was, I gave him the set, which it was Hoshimigure Yamato, you know, everything, and I gave him that information, and then he pretty much was like, okay, I'll just make you an introduction and stuff, which he was kind of giving a little attitude, but I think he was very aggravated about everything, and stuff like that. But so I dealt with him, and he was like, alright, just go in the back and talk to them about lighting and music, which I thought was a little weird because, again, I'm a walk-on, and my other experiences with being a walk-on, we were just given music. Like, we were just giving music, we were just giving, you know, whatever, like, whatever they wanted to give you, they would just play. Because obviously having that many music tracks for walk-ons and performance and stuff, it can get kind of, you know, overwhelming. But the lighting guys and the music guys, holy shit, when I say they were the most miserable fucking people, which in aspect it is very understandable because of the fact that they're trying to get all the music and lighting cues done in a day when that should have been taken care of ahead of time, or not even a day, like hours before the masquerade. But holy shit, when I say the sound guy was so fucking miserable and I was so close to just smacking a bitch, like I was trying to hold it together because he was asking me, he was like, what's your number? And he was just like, I don't really have an audio track for you. And I was like, oh yeah. And I pretty much explained, I was like, I didn't know I needed one. I was like, the application didn't really say that walk-ons needed one and stuff like that. And he really turns around to me and he goes, well, unless you want to walk on stage in silence, you need music. And I was just sitting there like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he was so fucking rude. Luckily, the lighting guy was kind of like realizing that I was getting aggravated, so he was like kind of distracting me, talking to me. He was like, oh, don't worry about it, like, we can figure it out. And I pretty much explained to them, I was like, if you need music, I was like, I can email it to you. I was like, we have the song. I was like, I can even cut it down for you for as long as you like, you know, and everything like that. He's like, well, that was supposed to be done before, like, before the con and blah, blah. It was like, just pretty much giving me attitude for it, when in reality, I had no fucking information to go off of, because I didn't know I needed music, because again, I was a walk-on. He eventually ended up giving me, like, his email, so I can email him the track that I wanted and stuff like that, which I kept trying to ask them, like, how long is a walk-on, you know, so that I can trim it down for them, or we can try at least to trim it down for them, and they were just like, well, they would not give me a straight answer. So working with them was absolutely horrendous. But yeah, not to mention that trying to set up, like, the music and stuff probably took maybe close to 40 minutes. Like, again, like, when I left there, with the original schedule for, like, prejudging and this and that, like, I was gonna have maybe 2 to 3 hours to relax, maybe get some food before the masquerade. By the time I left for after that whole train wreck, I had an hour before I had to be at the masquerade. So then came to the time of all the applications getting to the masquerade. There was 64 applicants that were accepted into the masquerade. Not to mention that they squeezed us all into one small green room. And we were lucky we had room to breathe. Like, there were so many people, you know, all their stuff, all this and all that. And then when it came to the snacks, barely had any to, like, for everyone. Like, I essentially didn't grab anything because I expected not to get anything. But we're all squeezed into one green room with one screen, which I don't know who the fuck the camera guy was, but why were you keep zooming in on the feet? Like, we could not even enjoy the performances because every time a good part happened, he would show the feet. Like, I don't know what was going on there. I don't know why he thought it was cool. Like, if it looked good, it was awful, because there's a lot of things that we missed that was cool because of the fact that we could not see it. Obviously, Katsu did not screen their applications because, no shade to these groups, I actually feel really bad for these groups having to, you know, not go against each other like that, but, you know, it could have been possibly embarrassing for them as well, for the fact that two performances were essentially the same, like the same song, the same outfits, and like, if that was me, I would have been a little embarrassed, just because of the fact that, like, Katsu should not have let that happen, because one, not only for the performers but also for the watchers, you don't want to see two things happening, and it just kind of showed that they did not screen anything. They just pretty much was like, yep, you know, and everything like that. Which is why there was that many applications. Most of the performances were, again, Love Live, which, as to be expected with a lot of masquerades nowadays, but it was essentially all Love Live. It should have been essentially titled an idol showcase at that point, because there wasn't very much skits. There was more just Love Live group, Love Live group, Love Live group, Love Live group, and it was just essentially at the end, like, because getting to my next point, after a while they had to kick us out of the green room because they needed it for something else, which they should have had that blocked off for the Katsu masquerade the whole time, but whatever. We were kicked out of the green room, so we pretty much had to go sit in the masquerade. And let me tell you, when I can probably count how many people were in that room by the end on my hands and toes, I would not be over-exaggerating. There was barely anyone. Like, the only reason why it might have looked full was because all the people that were in the masquerade was now sitting and watching it. There was barely anyone. So many people left because of just how kind of, I guess, repetitive it was, and just essentially, again, was not very much so focused as like a masquerade, but more so as an idol showcase. Which, don't get me wrong, like, idols should be allowed in masquerades, but that's a whole different topic I can go over. But it was more so, it wasn't balanced. It was just more so performance, 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 skit, walk on, performance, 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 and people just essentially was just pretty much getting sick of it. Essentially, me and my friends were stuck in the masquerade for, not exaggerating, 10 hours. We essentially lost our whole Saturday for the con because of the fact that we were stuck in the masquerade. We had to do prejudging in the morning. The only time I really was at the con was for my photo shoot, and even then I was not at the con because I was doing a photo shoot. But yeah, so we were essentially stuck in the masquerade process for 10 hours, and it was fucking awful. It was probably one of the worst masquerade experiences I've ever had, and which is why I will never be doing it again. It was absolutely horrendous dealing with it, and I will never be doing their masquerade again. I honestly don't even want my friends doing it. I don't want anyone else having to experience it, which it's sad because I know Katsu is sometimes the only con that some groups can perform together, or like some people can go and be in a masquerade, but it was absolutely horrendous. Horrendous. Worst rant event I have ever fucking seen in my life. And I've been to CanadaCon. That masquerade was awful. Just never doing it again. And yeah, it was just absolutely fucking awful. I can say that like 10 million times, but it was awful. But yeah, I'm sorry that this isn't like a very fun, relaxing like gameplay video. I do want to try to get one of those together very soon, but I felt like as a good placeholder this would be a good point, because we're all stuck inside, and what's not fun than listening to a person rant for a good, I don't know how long this video is. So yeah, it was awful. I'm never doing it again, and Katsu, if you see this, step your fucking game up, because that was horrendous, and pretty much no one wants to do the masquerade after that. That was just awful. But all jokes aside, it was awful. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this fun little rant video. Again, hopefully I'll have something more fun-filled coming soon, but I thought it would be fun to upload this and just rant for a little while and stuff, so